All right, so today is Saturday, February 20th. And let's rewind a few days to Monday, February 15th, all the way to Thursday, February 18th. What happened here in Houston?
Well, we had some snow, some freezing weather, and basically a lot of people lost power and eventually water as well. And for a lot of people, it took a lot of days for both to come back. And now people are dealing with broken pipes and all kind of other things. So it's been kind of a nightmare for a lot of people.
So what's the purpose of today's video?
So
that happened?
Today's video is just going to be a short video, kind of showing what you might make during such a situation. So, for us, one thing we realized early on was the fridge without the power, obviously everything's going to go bad. But since it pretty much stayed below freezing outdoors for 4 or 5 days straight, it just made sense to move everything outside. So as soon as you kind of realize, we're not gonna have power, you want to move things out to your back door or your balcony or your garage just to keep it refrigerated. That being said, let's say you're kind of running low on supplies and you still want a decent meal. We're going to try to create something like that, and I would recommend everyone have these little butane stoves. So that's what I'm going to cook on today. So you might have seen this at a Chinese hot pot restaurant, but basically, or a camping store. Just a little butane stove. They run off these guys. They run like $1 or $2 each, really cheap. So I would recommend stocking up on these in case you ever run out of power. Basically, that goes in there. It locks in. And I got this one in Chinatown for like $13, $14. So they're pretty cheap too.
This is particularly helpful to have because when electricity went out, we couldn't use our stove. Some people could use their gas stoves, but we were kind of out of luck. And thankfully we had this mini stove.
Right. So I guess today, this is probably something almost everyone has. So some kind of instant ramen, good to have on hand. Obviously, you want to make sure you have some canned goods like beans. We also have canned spinach and a bunch of other stuff at home. So this is going to be kind of, I guess we could call it gourmet survival food. That's what today's episode is about. So things like carrots, potatoes, onions, they're going to last a long time. So if you have those on hand, even if you're out of power for a few days, even more than a few days, and let's say the outside's not quite cold enough to refrigerate everything, these will be fine indoors. Your perishable greens, these are going to be the first things that you probably want to cook off. And then we just happen to have some mushrooms on hand, so we're just going to use these guys up. So I'm essentially going to take this ramen and I'm going to make 2 dishes out of it. So that looks good.
And we have turned off the lights to recreate the cooking situation, but power is back on, as you can see on the display for our oven and our microwave. Thankfully, we have pretty good lighting.
Yeah, so let's see. We're going to do... So here's my thought for today's meal. We're going to take the soup packet. We're going to make a quick soup, cook our veggies in it, maybe add some chickpeas for protein. So we'll have a nice hot soup, and then we'll take the noodles, we'll cook them, and then we'll toss in an egg yolk and Parmesan that never goes bad, and kind of create like a carbonara with that.
How long would you say that the butane lasts?
So each canister will last for quite a while. Like you could probably have this going for a good 40 minutes to an hour, I would say, with a new canister. I have eggs here. So eggs can actually, even for normal storage, they can go at 45 degrees, which is a little higher than your fridge. They're actually also just pretty safe in general. Like if it sits out at room temp for a few days, it will be okay.
Yeah, I remember when we were living in Shanghai, they would just have the eggs out, and it kind of freaked me out because I'm so used to seeing them in the refrigerated aisles.
Right. So, get my carrots and mushrooms in. And if you've never had Shin ramen, it is quite spicy. That's why I like it a lot. It has a lot of flavor. So the carrots will probably take about 10 minutes to kind of get to a nice softness. So at about 7 minutes, we'll drop our noodles in, cook them just enough, pull them out. Let's see, we can probably use 2 eggs. And
I will say one of the silver linings, if you could call it that, of losing power and having to transfer everything from our fridge and freezer out is that we kind of inevitably did a deep clean of the fridge and freezer and then tossed out what had been there for too long or what may not survive.
yeah, definitely held on to a few things for a little too long.
How do you feel about those emergency meal kits? Or do you just not have enough experience to have an opinion?
I don't have enough experience. I've never had to use one. I'm a little curious about it. If you've ever tried one, please let me know how they are. Maybe one day, I'll if I see it, I'll buy some and we can test it out.
That'd be kind of fun.
Going with some chickpeas plus their water. So I always kind of like to use the water. I think people wrote about chickpea water and how you could use it for all kinds of things like baking or whatever. I don't know that I would go so far to just start using it for everything, but it adds some saltiness, some flavor. So I like to use it just whenever I'm using chickpeas. Even if I'm making hummus, you know, you might strain out the chickpeas, put in the blender or the food processor, and then instead of adding other liquids, you can add some of the canned juice in there as well to get it going.
Some people may wonder how we personally fared during this episode. Care to share?
We were amongst the fortunate. You know, this place lost power and water, but we were able to go to your parents' house, and they were extremely lucky and did not lose water or power. We kind of just went back here each day to check on the place, see if anything had come back. And so overall, I would say we were extremely fortunate. So the nice thing with instant ramen is it doesn't really have to stay at a rolling boil. Normally you just pour boiling water over it, let it sit for maybe 3 minutes till it gets to a nice al dente. So it needs a little salt since we added a lot of veggies. I'm gonna add my egg whites to the soup.
Is there a reason why you separated the eggs?
Yeah, because I'm doing kind of a carbonara.
Oh, right.
So go ahead, we'll turn the soup off. I thought I'll just let the yolks warm up a little bit. But not for too long.
Are you a fan of camping?
You know, I can't say I've had too many good experiences with camping. I wouldn't say I'm against it, but... So, going with some cheese. Got our yolks in there. Just gonna mix it up.
Did you grow up eating a lot of instant ramen?
I wouldn't say a lot, but definitely had it from time to time. Check for seasoning.
Did you eat spicy when you were a kid?
I probably started spicy around... I can't even remember. Maybe around 6, I got really into hot and sour soup, and I would like to add a lot of pepper to it, which kind of made my parents nervous.
White pepper or black pepper?
Black pepper. Okay, so here we go. So, instant ramen carbonara. We have gently cooked egg whites. Got our greens in here, carrots. So, you know, even if your resources are kind of limited during one of these situations, it's silly, obviously, to try to make gourmet out of instant noodles. But, you know, this kind of gives you 2 eating experiences. You have soup here. You have kind of elevated pasta over here. So it's, I think, just kind of nice, especially if you're just looking for something comforting. And obviously the end result of this dish really depends on what instant ramen you're using. So if you don't like the instant ramen that you're using, you're probably not going to like this dish. But this is pretty tasty. So I hope you guys give it a try, even if you don't have to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe do disaster preparedness dry run. See how you would fare.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, we do highly recommend that everyone get one of these stoves. This is not a sponsored plug, but we just realized how affordable and useful it is, and super easy to use. Can you just show people how to turn it on?
Sure. I mean, it's as easy as turning this. They're all going to be a little different. So
easy a caveman can do it.
The canister, so it's pretty easy. When this is in storage, this is turned upside down, so it's more space efficient. Turn it right side up. Canister goes in. It gets locked in. That's it.
And there's some control of heat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So if you go too low, it'll go out. Yeah.
Awesome.
Simmer.
And is there would you say that there's any fear of gas poisoning? Like, do you have to turn on a vent or open a door when you're using this?
I mean, I think if you're going to run it all day and use it to heat yourself up, maybe the fumes aren't the greatest, but I also know I've seen these a lot in restaurants, often for dining room preparation, where they wheel the cart out and they do the whole Bananas Foster's thing in front of you. They're often using these as well. So if it's just in, the time span of half an hour or less to cook a meal, I'm sure it's fine. But maybe I should Google that just to be sure.
We should put a disclaimer at the bottom.
Well, if I Google it, then I will put the answer on the screen right now.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.